It's up to you.
When and why did I join the military? I graduated high school in 1995 and then immediately went to college at Appalachian Bible College in Bradley, West Virginia, and found out pretty quickly that I was not much of a student. And so I dropped out of college in January of '96. So I did one semester in college. And then I was a mall security cop at the King of Prussia Mall and realized that I was not going to be able to make a career out of riding a mountain bike around the parking lot of a mall. So then I just decided one day I came home and I told my mom and dad, I'm joining the Air Force. And in September of 1996, I left for the Air Force right away. And I chose the Air Force because I grew up around the Air Force. My dad was an Air Force retiree. Challenge of basic training. Um, that's a weird question because I love the training environment. Every time I've been through any kind of training with the military or with my job now, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Um, I I don't really feel like that there was a time ever in basic training where I was so concerned about not passing that I felt really stressed out or I I would have to say this separation anxiety that everybody gets when they leave home and they don't know anybody. So the first big challenge only lasted about a week until I started to get to know everybody and while I was in basic training, and then it was just a blast after that. When I was on active duty in the United States Air Force, I had two jobs. And in the Air Force, your job is called your AFSC, which stands for Air Force Specialty Code. And so when you go to a school and you graduate from a school, you earn an AFSC. And the first job I had was I was a ceremonial guardsman, which I was stationed at Bolling Air Force Base in Washington, D.C., and we were with the Presidential Honor Guard. So I did funerals at Arlington National Cemetery, ceremonies at the Pentagon, White House, and various other monuments in the Military District of Washington. My specialty within the Honor Guard was I was a member of the firing party. So we would fire the 21 gun salute on military funerals. And then I was a narrator with the Honor Guard, and I had the honor of 11 times narrating at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for wreath laying ceremonies when foreign dignitaries would come and they would lay a wreath in honor of our unknown military members that are interred at the Tomb of the Unknowns. I would narrate for the crowd what was going on during those ceremonies. So that was a really big honor. And then approximately 3 years after I did that for about 3 years, and then I cross-trained into security forces, which is the military police. And then I spent 2 years in Germany as a security forces apprentice, which is a cop in the military, for lack of a better term, where I guarded a lot of security forces in the airport. In the Air Force, your job is air base ground defense. What that means is wherever there's an Air Force base, you have security forces that are in charge of securing the perimeter as well as the interior of the Air Force base. And that was my job while I was stationed in Germany. I served in the United States Air Force from 1996 until July of 2001. I separated from the Air Force. And then in September of 2001, obviously 9/11 happened, and a lot of people were coming back into the Air Force. And I received my letter that said, you're probably going to come back into the Air Force because we're all going to go to war. So I prepared myself for that, and it never happened. I spent a year as a loss prevention investigator, again, at the King of Prussia Mall. I worked at Neiman Marcus, and we would chase down people that were stealing stuff from Neiman Marcus, which was a blast. I had a lot of fun. And then during that time, I had applied to the United States Marshal Service, and I was hired by the U.S. Marshal Service in June of 2002, and I have been doing that ever since, so almost 21 years now. And the U.S. Marshal Service mission is to protect the federal courts and to arrest fugitives from justice, whether on state or local charges or federal charges. And that keeps me busy in this area. So I work for the Eastern Pennsylvania Violent Crimes Fugitive Task Force, and we go out and arrest violent fugitives on a daily basis, as well as maintain the security of the federal court system.